Hi, welcome to today's American Association for Respiratory Care's Perspectives podcast with Doug Gardenhire and Meliza Walsh, Class of 2024 Emerging Leaders Program Mentor and Mentee graduates. Thanks, Doug and Meliza, for joining us today. To begin, can each of you give us a little bit of a background about why you became a respiratory therapist and how you got involved with the AARC?
Meliza, you want to go first?
Sure. So I was actually going to nursing school, and eventually, unfortunately, it became too expensive, and I had a lot of science undergrad courses, and I looked up what I could do with it, and found out that I actually lived very close to a respiratory school. So I registered, I signed up, and thankfully got in, and that's how I ended up in respiratory. So my story was pretty short and fully based on finances at the time. What about you, Doug?
For me, I've always been a respiratory therapist. I've never been anything else in my professional life. And it started at a young age as a asthmatic and allergic kid to literally everything. I think when I was 5, my parents took me to the allergist and I was allergic to every single thing they stuck on my arm, my back, my leg, and everything. So as a young child, I was in the hospital a lot. And of course, cared for by respiratory therapists. So as soon as it was time to go to school, that's exactly what I did, become a respiratory therapist and haven't done anything ever since. In terms of AARC, it was made very, very relevant to me early on in my career that you really needed to be a part of the AARC. And so I've been a member really since I was in school. And from then on, have just been able to grow with professional career and, of course, grown with AARC and have always wanted to give back. So anytime anyone asks for anything in terms of respiratory therapy, I'm always seem to be a yes, just simply because respiratory therapy has been nothing but great to me. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that it is a great profession and has done worlds for me and my family.
That's awesome. I totally left out why and how I got with AARC. So being the great mentor you are, you prompted me to come back. So I actually was more involved at the state level, and it was one of the Colorado Respiratory State Society committee members that was part of the program committee that approached me while I was still working bedside clinical. And she asked me if I wanted to present. And at first I thought she was kidding. But Kelly Riddle is awesome. And she is really great at convincing you to do things that you've never done before. So I got very involved at the state level and was involved at the state level for several years. The AARC just seemed so unattainable to me at the time in my very young years as a respiratory therapist. And I will tell you that it was my husband who encouraged me to go to my first AARC Congress. And that's how I started to get involved and how I started to do a lot more things at the AARC level. And I'm grateful he did. The state level was really fun and it was really great. But it's comfortable because you know people at the state level. At the national level with AARC, it can seem very intimidating, but I can tell you that people are a lot more welcoming than I expected people to be. I made it all up in my head. It was never that they weren't welcoming. I just had never done it.
That's great. So why did each of you decide to get involved in the Emerging Leaders Program?
So for me, Doug, since you partially answered already because you're so ahead of the curve. I made a big change in my career. I was with Children's Hospital Colorado for all of my respiratory career, born and bred, started out bedside, had opportunity to do a lot of really wonderful things at that organization. And then I was provided with an opportunity for becoming an assistant director, which aligned perfectly with my goals. Also, my husband lived in Texas, and so we had to make a move and we had to make some decisions, and he won that battle. So I started looking, the position presented itself, I went for it, and I took the opportunity, but with that came a huge learning curve. So when the Emerging Leaders Program came out and I saw that posted, I fully recognized that I needed some guidance and some support, and I needed someone to kind of help guide me on that learning curve from going from being a manager into being an assistant director. And man, did Doug deliver. He mentored me like in ways that I don't even think he did it intentional. I think he was just being himself. And he is someone that you can really relate to, and he speaks to you in a way that makes it very, very easy to just talk through vulnerabilities, talk through the wins, talk through the frustrations, and then kind of walking away with resolutions at each of our meetings was pretty awesome.
Yeah, for me, again, it just came from an ask. I mean, Mandy, again, asked if I would be willing. And of course, I mean, this is something I think that everyone who's passionate about respiratory therapy wants to do at some point. And I think sometimes we all do it all of the time. I mean, we're mentoring all of the time, whether we know it or not. Melissa, again, talked to that. Again, when you find individuals who have the same passion, you're sharing your experiences. And sometimes you just don't know that simply sharing experiences and having understandings and having those similar passions, again, just goes back and forth. So just as much as Melissa has said that she's that I have, again, assisted in her mentoring, I think opposite of that as well. So I think no matter who it is that we are engaged in, we are always, again, potentially giving and receiving mentoring at the same time.
So I guess to go along with that, what did each of you enjoy the most about being involved in the program?
Well, I want to go first because I think Melissa had probably similar answers, just because I think we are on that same and or similar wavelength in what we're doing. But what I enjoyed was we were meeting every week, and it was just nice to be able to listen to someone else and listen to their daily grind. And if they had questions about what was going to be able to share, yeah, I've been in that situation, or again, I haven't been in that one, but I've been in this similar one. And I wonder if you take a look back, if you could step back and look at it this way. So really what I enjoyed was that we were meeting every week. And then we learned from others that, they're only meeting maybe every month or something like that. And we were both like, wow, well, we meet every week and still meeting today. I think being able to just have that shared experience through the program, but also we have the passion and the love for respiratory therapy, but again, have grown that as a friendship as well. So I enjoyed every time that I get to speak with Melissa.
I mean, we're definitely on the same wavelength. And I think that there was some talk about when they aligned mentors and mentees. And, I am most certainly glad for whoever, whether that was Mandy or someone else in that committee that made this alignment, or if they threw cards up in the air and it was fate. But I feel like it was most certainly a really good partnership because you kind of really poured into me a lot of the things that I need and still need now. So I still love our meetings. So I think that ties in really nicely with just the relationships you build. And it was those meetings. It was knowing on Friday, I'm going to tell Doug what happened to me and how I handled it. Or, I remember when I came to one of our meetings and I was like, Doug, I said no. I said no to something. You were like, way to go. You finally learned how to say no. But it was kind of great to share the wins and the losses with you and the progress and having kind of that mirror, that connection, and knowing that you were just as invested in those meetings as I was. I think outside of our professional and personal relationship, it was really fun to meet the other ELP attendees too. I'm actually still really close with a group of them and talk to them fairly regularly. Something I've mentioned in the past is we started mentoring each other. We started talking through things together and kind of learning from one another. So even yesterday, I had a just random follow-up meeting with Sarah Basalik and Jessica George. And we were talking about some of the struggles that we're going through now. And hey, how would you navigate this, just to share with each other our experiences? And then I've talked to Jimmy about a couple of things, and Allie is also part of that. But it's those connections that will carry on far beyond this program. And just thinking about hey, what do you want to do next? What are you working on? And how can I help you? And it's so uplifting to know that you have that community that will support you in your dreams and the crazy things you want to do. They're like, yeah, you go for it and do it. And I loved it. I really do love that I get to learn from other people that are not within my same organization and have completely different perspectives than I do.
Yeah. And I think I'd also add that one of the things that individuals who may want to be involved, whether it's a mentor or a mentee, is ultimately, I think, there's a lot of these different things that we do in our professional lives, but this one particular, the more you put in, the more you got more back. I think as much as I put in, I got just as much as I put in, if not more back. And I would think that Melissa would probably say the same thing.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement.
What were the top 3 things you learned from Doug over the course of this program?
Oh my gosh, Doug has taught me so much. He really has. And I cannot speak more praises about this man. I think, and I'm going to try not to get emotional, Doug, because you get me right in my feels. You do. So I think one of the biggest lessons, it's hard because I am so eager. Like, I want to be involved. I want to do the things. I want to help. And very basically told me one day, he's like, you don't have to do it all. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Because I was involved in a lot of other things because I really just wanted to be engaged and I wanted to help and I wanted to drive the profession. He taught me that the more I get in my career, the more focused I need to become in the things that I want to do and the more intentional I need to be with the things I want to be involved in. And that ties in with, what do I want? What's important to me? What goals do I want to achieve? And how do I want to make a difference? And he also taught me that no is a viable response to something, not because I don't want to help, but because if I'm going to do something, I should do it well. And I should pour myself into it and be proud of the work that I've produced. But I feel like the biggest lesson he taught me is just focusing and honing into the things that I'm passionate about so that I can make a meaningful difference. And, it's great to be a jack of all trades, but it's also great to be a master of some of those trades and really being focused on the things that will make a meaningful difference and what I want to give to others. But I think that was the biggest lesson.
So, Doug, what top three things did you learn from Melissa?
Well, there's some things we can't talk about on this podcast, but I think as a mentor, one of the things that you, I guess, see and learn from is to be able to be in some of those similar circumstances. We're in different places. And so just as much as Melissa's saying that she's learning from me, I'm learning from her as well. And so, again, trying to understand, because that's not my world, trying to understand what it's like to be in hospital administration, trying to, understand and see what she's going through and being able to help her. I was able to learn some of those things that were different from where I was in terms of academia, because they're totally two different things. Although leadership, again, doesn't, is ever, together in a sense. I mean, you're still utilizing some of those same, traits and keys in terms of your leadership, but just learning from her the struggles that she went through, on a daily, heck, on an hourly basis, I think at times. And she was going through they were doing some removement again there within the hospital administration as well. So she was taking on a lot. And something that we all relate to is when positions are asking us as individuals to do more than what is humanly possible. And so to be able to learn from her about what those things were, and then of course me being able to try to help. And ultimately what it really comes down to is, to me, the best thing you can do as a mentor is listen. And that's something that I learned from my mentors, is a lot of them have been excellent listeners. And if you can be an excellent listener, that again will help you in terms of what it is you're doing for the other individual in terms of mentoring. So again, lots of different things that I learned from her, but ultimately what I learned from her is the passion she has for respiratory therapy and how she wants to help so many different people, but trying to help her focus what really is the ultimate goal that she wants to achieve. And I think she's found that. And again, I think we know where she belongs, and we're hopeful that she's going to be there soon.
That's great. What a wonderful commentary about how you guys have worked together, and really for anybody who's listening about, the importance of listening. So overall, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing respiratory care in the future? And kind of to go along with that, how do you think programs like the Emerging Leaders can help bridge that gap?
Something I've found very challenging to find up until the emerging leaders was some robust formal leadership training for RT leaders. That doesn't exist. Outside of, I think AARC University had some leadership courses that you could take, which were great, but there's nothing that will ever replace that real live interaction and mentorship. So I think access to funding for that education is something that's lacking, as well as protected time for mentorship. And as Doug mentioned, I became very territorial with my time with him. I was like, no, this is like my hour every week that I am going to just block out. And I would just tell people I couldn't meet. I would make sure that I was in a space where I wouldn't be interrupted from my meetings with him. But I had to advocate for that. And I think right now for respiratory therapists that are trying to grow wherever they're at in their career right now, whether they aspire to be there in 5-10 years, whatever the case may be, is we don't have that. We have, our nursing counterparts that have funding. They have professional development funding that they apply, and then they get this amount of money that they can use to go to a conference, to go and, oh, you have an abstract. Great, go and do that. And because they have to do all these things for designation. And I think the AARC is doing a stellar job in trying to bring some of those things into respiratory by having APEX designation. I had the opportunity to do that while I was at Children's Colorado. And man, it's a process to get that, but it should be we should work for that. We should do those things as a standard of care and a standard of practice for our profession. So I would say that access to funding in general, specifically for education to develop leaders, and protected time to say, this time is valuable, this time is important because someone needs to pour into you and teach you the way. I will also say that it's access to the right leaders that can pour into you, because I don't think that anyone could just come in and teach you things. I think you need incredibly emotionally intelligent leaders. And Doug has a lot of that. And he provided me with a lot of perspective through some very, very tough situations. And there were times where he was like, all right, take it from this perspective, take it from that perspective. And sometimes it was a kick in the butt. It's like, Melissa, you're just going to have to get over it. It is what it is. But a lot of that does come from that foundation of trust. And I trust him to give me that advice. And, I also had to be open to it. But I would love to see more organizations provide funding for RTs that really want to grow and do more, because the AARC is starting to provide those programs, but the funding would be helpful, not just from, I know that Draeger was incredibly generous to support ELP, but it would be awesome to also see organizations pour into their own leaders and see the benefits of this too.
I think for me, I think AARC, again, of course, is the leader of the profession. So again, taking this step forward and understanding that, we have to grow our own. And, that is something that I really fix a lot of what we've done in respiratory therapy for so long is we know who we've got, and we need to be able to build those folks and utilize them and use the talent that we have around us to better everyone else. And so I think that the program is excellent at doing that. And, Melissa alluded to the fact of funding. None of these things can be done without funding. And I think a lot of times as AARC members, we ask about, well, what's our dues? What is it that we pay every year for? What's that going towards? Well, this is, again, one of them. And I think this is a great thing to be able to hang our hat on and say, look, there's a program that, yes, of course, again, having some funding from the outside source is helpful, but it's not all of it. It takes other sources of income and other individuals at AARC to put these things together. And of course, it takes all of us to work together within that group to make it happen. But we have to grow our own. We have to do that. No matter whether it's, I see that a lot with us in terms of our faculty. We have to grow our own because it's again tough to find those individuals. We're a very small in the world of healthcare. We're a very small group, and so we really need to continue to focus our efforts to find those individuals who are passionate about respiratory therapy, because a lot of us are getting older, and we're going to continue to again lose good people to retirement, and so we need to make sure that we're bringing up the younger individuals to be able to be here and to take that torch and to continue to carry on and make respiratory therapy as great as what it has always been for me. I mean, I can never say that respiratory therapy has never, ever not provided for me. Now, of course, everyone has to remember that we have to give as much as we're getting. And sometimes we have to give more. But without the AARC, I'm not really sure where we would be. And again, I think this is a great program that should continue to be funded. And people should really take it seriously and understand as members, this is where some of the funding's going. We continue to grow. We've got to continue to grow our profession. Without good leaders, we can't grow our profession.
And what would you say to the next class of emerging leaders? Like, why should they be involved?
Oh, yeah. Why would you not be?
I would say that I think it's been clear what we've talked about is you've got to be able to commit the time, because if you're not going to put into it, you're not going to get anything out of it. And that goes for whether you're a mentor or a mentee. So you've got to be able to, to put that in. So you really need to examine your position wherever it is that you are. You need to examine your life, because again, life gets in the way of everything. We know that as individuals, we have families, we're parents. And so all of those things we have to factor in, making sure that you have the time to be able to commit, because there is a time commitment. I mean, surely you don't have to meet every week like we did, but you have to be able to set that time, and it's got to be scheduled. So you've got to be able to set down, schedule, do the meeting, do the work, do the interaction. And there's a lot of other things that Melissa can talk about that the mentees were actually doing. There was a lot of behind the scenes work that was going on in their groups.
Yeah, no, we did a lot of really awesome things. And I really want to emphasize what you said, because I think that sometimes people think of like mentorship, the mentor is going to give everything and you're just going to pour into me and you're going to come prepared with all these things and you're going to tell me what to do. And it's really not that. I think the beauty of our mentee-mentor relationship was because I had a bunch of questions, and if you didn't have the answer, you looked at a resource. Like, you sent me surveys to fill out. You told me things to look at. And there were times you even told me people to talk to. It wasn't just, us in our little bubble. There were so many exchanges. But if you're applying to be an emerging leader, which I think anybody that's in leadership really should, is come ready to learn, come ready and be hungry for it and be open to it. And don't just expect your mentor to have a plan for you. You need to kind of take that time to self-reflect and try to figure out, what do you want out of this? And I think that everybody has different experiences, but as a mentee, if you show up and you don't have anything for your mentor to work from, and if you have not done some work on your end to develop yourself, this is not going to go anywhere. So what I would say is just truly take some time to invest in yourself. Come prepared with some questions, have a goal in mind. I actually peeked at the application for the ELP because I've had people ask me like, oh, how do you get chosen? I'm like, I don't know. I was just me. And I was already like high energy and I was getting involved and I knew like this is something I really wanted. But I also know that I put myself out there before the applications even opened up, before the program was available. So I think that whatever people are doing to get themselves out there, the AARC will take you to the next level, but they're not going to take you from the bottom. You have to do some of that foundational work for yourself. It's not Doug's responsibility to make sure I'm successful. He took on the challenge of trying to provide me with guidance, but I have to take what he pours into me and do something with it and make something out of it. So I will say that for me, in having heard experiences from other colleagues, I got a lot out of it, but I wanted a lot out of it. I mean, I asked Doug things. I asked him hard things. I was very real with him about situations. And he was very honest. He's like, well, this is new. And he would be like, read this resource, read this chapter. There was like 17 different surveys he sent me so that I could help identify like, what kind of leader am I really? Because I thought I was this type of leader, but now I'm adjusting to maybe that's not really the type of leader I am. So I think that it's super important that when you come in motivated, and don't put it all on your mentor. They're there to guide you and give you resources and connect you with what you need, but have some goals, have some vision for yourself too, and just aspire to do great things. And, I'm really excited that they put out an application for mentors, because I think that we do need more mentors. And I think that for those individuals that are thinking about it, apply and put in there why you would want to pour into someone else. I think that if Doug had not said yes, I don't know that last year, like 2024 would have been what 2024 was for me. And that he will always be that bookmark in that chapter of my life that helped me get through some very tough situations. And so I'm glad that he said yes. I'm glad that he went for it and was very supportive of the profession and wanted to give back to the AARC. And, he does also inspire me to want to give back more than I already do. So when you think that you can't give more, you meet people like Doug and you realize you can. There's more to give and you shouldn't ever stop. And Doug, even when you retire, you're still going to mentor me. I'll visit your grave.
I'm sure we'll still be meeting every week.
I guess before we conclude, is there anything else you'd like to add or any additional insights you'd like to share?
Doug, you got insights?
The insight, I guess, would be if you're not sure about whether you should do it or not, that should tell you that you should. If you're on the rope about whether you need that mentorship, everyone needs mentorship. At every level of their career, you're going to need mentorship, and you need good mentorship. So again, if your goal is to continue in the respiratory therapy profession, and I hope that it is, specifically if you're listening to this podcast, it would definitely be, is apply and get involved and learn whether you are the mentor or the mentee. I think making sure that you reach out to Mandy and them in education and let them know if you are interested in mentoring, because everyone needs it. And just because you're in different fields in respiratory therapy, like it was for Meliza and I was in academia, she's in hospital administration, there's still mentorship that can be made on both sides.
I think my only insight is that we can sit here and talk about all the things we can do better, and whether it's in the hospital or in academia. I think this is opportunity for people to be the people that do better. You want better leaders? Mold them, make them, pour into them. And I think mentees, you want to be a better leader, or you've had a leader that you're like, oh, I would do that better, then pour into yourself. And I would say, go for it and apply for this program. We're constantly asking what the AARC does for us. This is what they do for us. They give us opportunities, and it's up to us to decide how we take that opportunity and run with it. But I think the last thing that I just would love to share is a huge thank you to all of the mentors and all of the people, and Mandy and, our current president, Dana Evans, and all of the people that really poured into this first cohort. We are all so much better for it. We are all still so very excited to give back to the AARC what they've given to us. I know that I am. I know that the people that I've been in touch with still are. And a huge and special thank you to Doug. Man, you're the bomb. You are so awesome. And I think that the transition that I made when I made it, and having you as part of my tribe, leading those crazy aspirational things that you would tell me and remind me to just kick some butt and get back up and not let people knock me down, that really carried me through just the things that I needed to get through. And I'm such just a better leader because of the things that you shared with me. A lot of the times you were right. It was just you listening and someone being able to say, that's hard. I can see this is hard for you. And you did that so many times. And I am forever grateful that you did that, and that you were my mentor, and that you are my friend.
Thanks, Doug and Meliza, for joining us today and sharing your insights and experiences about the 2024 Emerging Leaders Program and why people should get involved with the program and AARC in the future.